So in this episode, it's all about cheeks, and we'll be cooking pig cheeks and beef cheeks. So cheeks traditionally are quite a cheap cut. They're getting more popular in the barbecue space at the moment, but the reason that they are really good for barbecue is these little beauties are essentially baby briskets. The reason I call them baby briskets is because you've got quite a lot of fat content within it. You take it up to a very similar temperature and you cook it in a very similar way, low and slow. So today what we're going to be doing is cooking these in the Masterbuilt Kamado. The reason I've gone for the Kamado is because we can get a lot of efficiency and a lot of time out of that charcoal. I'll be using a lumpwood charcoal and a really basic rub. We're not going to go too fancy on the flavours. We're going to let the flavours of the cheeks do the talking. We've talked a little bit about the beef cheek. We've also got pig cheeks. Now they are considerably smaller than an ox cheek, but they are so powerful in terms of flavour, and again very, very similar in the intermuscular fat. I think these things have been chewing constantly throughout this animal's life. We're going to have to break down those fats over a course of a couple of hours. So I'm going to use a very specific technique while cooking these, and that is smoke, float, wrap. The reason we do this is because there's initial smoke so it can take in some of the characteristics from the wood. Then we're going to float it in some stock to help it take in a bit more moisture and just almost guarantee a perfect result, and then wrap it up until that 93, 94 degree perfect heat spot so we can bring these out in the best possible way. So this is a way that I've been pretty much doing since the beginning of lockdown, and the reason I do it this way is because it's worked really well for me and it guarantees me results. If you've got another way, let me know in the comments and I'd love to hear it, because I'm always open to new ideas. So first protocol with this method is the seasoning. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to season these with a pastrami rub, and then we're going to put these into the Kamado over a little bit of smoke to get us started. Will point out, even though I am wearing the Angus & Oint hat and we are using their rubs today, this isn't a sponsored video. Pig cheek pastrami. There you go. So an important part of the smoke, float, wrap technique is the liquid. So I'm going to use beer today. I'm going to put that in a tray underneath the newly seasoned cheeks, and then we'll drop them in when they get to about 65, 70 degrees. One thing, and it is really important to remember, is that we are cooking to temperature and not to time with these particular cuts of meat. So we're going to need some help with that. So today I'm going to use a meter, which is going to go into the largest part of the largest ox cheek, and that's going to allow me to monitor it while the barbecue is closed, because we all know if you're looking, it isn't cooking. Okay, so those are sitting safe in the Kamado now. We're going to leave those to do their thing, and we're going to get them out when my meter tells me they're at 65 to 70 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly turn these over so they get a nice covering of liquid. Believe it or not, that won't ruin any kind of bark that we're building up. It'll just stop it drying out on the surface. And then we'll close that up. Again, leave that to keep cooking until we get to around about 80 degrees. Okay, so now we've hit 80. It's just gone up to 83 as well while we've taken it off, which it will do. We're going to wrap this with foil now across the top, and then we're going to take that all the way into the home stretch, get it to 93 to 94 degrees, which will break down all that beautiful gelatinous into muscular fat in the cheeks and give us a really nice finish ready for serving. The best tip I can give you when using a meter with this method is to just poke a little hole into the foil, and it's just going to reduce interference with the thermometer, and it'll also help it provide a much more accurate ambient reading as well, obviously because that's going to be its own little microclimate within the Kamado, and we want a little bit more of an accurate reading. So that's going to allow us to reduce any interference on the probe, and also get us better reading on the ambient as we go through it. I like that. So as you can see now, I've set up a new target temperature on the meter app of 94 degrees. So the meat's back in, we just got to wait for the little ding and we're good to go. Right guys, so we are aware there is a little bit of background noise right now from a strimmer, but we will do our best. So we've pulled out the cheeks, we've got the pig cheeks there, they're looking very nice, and we've got the ox cheeks which have got a lovely bark on. They're looking nice and juicy as well. So they've rested for about 5 or 10 minutes. I don't usually rest it for much longer than that, largely down to my impatience and I want to get stuck into them. So one thing you will see is with the pig cheeks is they are just willing to just come apart. So I will pop that there, and same with this as well. You can put your finger straight through it. Problem is it's still hotter than the sun, so I'm not going to do that. What we're going to do, pop them on the tray. I'm going to just slice them open so you can see a nice midsection and see some of that lovely jelly-like fat in the middle.
How do you know the pig's cheeks done just based on the beef temperature?
Pretty much, yeah, because it's exactly the same. You've got to take it to the same level. It's like pulled pork. You just got to look for that temperature that breaks down the fat. As long as you're prepared for the pepper, you're good. I'm going to have to try a little bit of this ox cheek.
Go on then.
Oh. Mmm.
More go with pepper in it. Yeah, that's probably the most peppery thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah. But texturally, nice. So it probably needs a little bit of sweetness or something to balance it out. Okay, so there we have it. Perfect ox cheek and pig cheek, smoked, floated, wrapped. Beautiful.